Recognizes the gentleman from Washington, Mr. Hastings, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, for weeks and weeks now, Democrat leaders in both the House and Senate have engaged in parliamentary contortions to block every representative in this body of both parties from being able to offer even one amendment to the 1,200-page, $10 billion Omnibus Lands package that contains over 170 individual bills. Since over 100 of these bills were never voted on in the House, this giant piece of legislation needs careful review in a fair and open process. Yet fair and open consideration is precisely what Democrat leaders have denied in this House. Today, the House Rules Committee will meet to decide how the most recent passed Senate Omnibus Lands bill will be debated and voted on in this House, presumably tomorrow. While there are many areas of this bill that need improvement, there are several that rise to a serious level of concern, and let me cite 4 of them. First, addressing prohibitions against American-made energy on public lands, prohibitions that would deny job creation in the energy sector on public lands. Second, ensuring our border security by making certain that provisions of this bill don't ban the use of vehicles and other technology to patrol our border. Third, ensuring that public lands continue to be open to public enjoyment. That includes wheelchair access for the disabled that would be banned under this bill, as well as access by Americans using bicycles and motor-sized bikes for recreation. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, an area of the bill that rises to a very high level of concern after a federal judge's ruling last week, and that is the protection of Americans' Second Amendment gun rights on public lands. Specific amendments have been filed with the Rules Committee to address each of these issues. Democrat leaders should now provide the House with a chance to vote on them. But more specifically, Mr. Speaker, the House must act on the Omnibus Lands bill to immediately protect the Second Amendment rights of Americans. Last week, Democrat leaders in the House and Senate added the Altmaier language to the Omnibus Lands bill to prevent the federal government from banning hunting and fishing on certain types of federal land. At the time this amendment was added, the right of Americans to carry concealed firearms on park lands, federal park lands, and wildlife refuges was in accordance with state laws, and that was already recognized in federal regulations. However, last Thursday, a district court judge based in Washington, D.C., single-handedly decided to block this Second Amendment policy. Now there is a giant hole in the current Altmaier language, and Congress must fix it. Congress must not allow one federal judge to single-handedly deny Americans their Second Amendment rights on federal land. I have introduced an amendment along with Congressman Rob Bishop of Utah to the Omnibus Lands bill that would write into law the very protection struck down by this lone federal judge. The House must vote on this amendment to repair the big void in the current Altmaier language contained in the Omnibus Lands bill. There should be no excuses, no more delays, no waiting for another day or another bill. The Omnibus Lands bill is the best place to fix what this federal judge has done. If we are going to pass a 1,200-page bill that dramatically expands federal lands in our country, Congress must protect Americans' Second Amendment rights while on these lands. The Constitution and the Second Amendment should not be pushed aside by an activist judge and a complacent Congress. House leaders must allow a vote on the Hastings-Bishop Amendment to the Omnibus Lands bill to protect the gun rights of Americans when we take up this bill, presumably tomorrow. With that, Mr. Speaker, I yield back my time.